Happy Tuesday, travel family. To all my adventurers near and far, hope you are safe and having fun. Welcome to Point Noir, home of the Point Noir podcast, where we not only inspire but equip men of color to go out and see the world for themselves. I'm your favorite podcast host who wears kimonos on the regular, Jerry III, aka Kimono Jack, and you are joining me now to listen to the 54th session of the Point Noir podcast. Hope everyone is having a great week, a great beginning of the summer. Everything is starting to heat up a little bit. And we started our week off really nicely with some great news, some great publicity, as the kids might call it. But Travel Noir, who's one of the biggest names in the Black travel movement, did a feature article on us and how we sponsor men of color to get their passports. So thank you so much, Travel Noir, and thank you so much to everybody who's shown interest. Follow the page on Instagram at Point Noir Show. Sent me emails wanting to know more about what we're up to. Welcome to the platform. Thanks for tuning in. If you loved the first 45 seconds of the show to this point, trust me, it gets way better beyond this, but I just wanted to officially and formally say thanks for being interested in what we're doing. I really value your time and attention and energy. And make sure you spread the word. We sponsor a man of color every single month. So if that sounds like you or somebody you know, make sure you head over to our IG page. Again, that's at Point Noir Show. You can find out more about the entry details under our highlights. There's a section that says passport, and we have all the info there. And listen, because I really am into this, we've been doing this for a year. Not everybody has access to social media or whatever. So if you have questions, if you want to know more, send me an email. I will personally respond. Shoot it over to KimonoJack, KIMONOJACK at pointnoirshow.com, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. I just want to help people out. I want to make sure the community is involved. So hit me up on my direct line on email. I'm happy to answer any and all questions. That was a win for us in the week. And speaking of winners, we have another one, not passport related, but this guy, Damian Butler, won our day trip giveaway featuring some great accessories created by a Black-owned company called Wize Originals. So you can check us out on Instagram to see what was available and learn more about that company. But Damian, you won, my guy. We've already spoken. We're going to put out the order for that today and hopefully get it to you in the next week. Can't wait to see you rocking that watch in style, because you are a stylish man already. So if you're looking for more opportunities to win some of our giveaways, we have another one coming up. I know I mentioned the excursion giveaway a couple weeks ago. We've just had to get some things lined up on this side of things, but that's coming up soon. So if you check out the page on IG and you're like, damn, I really missed out, well, A, you did, but B, there will be some more opportunities coming up. So shout out to everybody who entered. Damian, congratulations again for winning. I mentioned this last week, but we have limited spots available for our trip to Paris in October. The dates are October 10th through 15th. You can find out all the details at journeytoparis.com. But I cannot wait to show you all, and for some of you, introduce you to the City of Light and all the interesting Black history and current melanated spots of interest in the city of Paris. So if that interests you, make sure you check out journeytoparis.com. I think we have only 2 spots left, and there's a lot of interest. So if you're interested, check out journeytoparis.com and make sure that when you sign up that you say you heard about this through the show. You'll get a discount on your total trip price. All that stuff out of the way, so much positive news. Want to keep you all updated on what we have going on here at the show. Listen, we have another amazing guest for you today. I can't even believe I had the opportunity to sit down with this young man. He's doing big things and has such an interesting story. So without further ado, let's introduce today's special guest. Joining us today as our special guest at The Point is Wize Grazette. Make sure you follow his personal Instagram page at The Real Wize, and that's Wize with a Z. He's not only a well-traveled young man of color, a first-generation immigrant hailing from Barbados, but he's also the founder of the Indie Creative Network. Now, ICN is a digital media platform that is intentionally designed to support storytellers and podcasters all across the African diaspora. Check them out at their website, icn.dj, and also check out their Instagram page, same thing, at icndj. I met Wize a couple weeks ago at the amazing Afros and Audio Podcast Festival. I cannot state enough how great that event was, because it put me in contact with people that look like me doing the same thing. and a couple minutes of seeing him on his panel talking about connecting voices throughout the diaspora, I knew I wanted to learn more about his story and also introduce you all to him. We learned a lot about Wize, what it was like growing up in Brooklyn with his Barbadian heritage and culture from the US, what that shift was like for him when he moved to the South, and also some of his coming of age stories through travel, mainly through a trip to Australia when he was just a young teenager. What's really cool is the authenticity with which Wize speaks, and also the future vision that he has in mind for not only the culture and community, but the work he's doing right now with ICN. And I think it's just a full package. So this session definitely has everything we love to talk about when it comes to travel and adventure. You go out, you travel, you explore, you learn, and then you see new possibilities for yourself. So if that sounds like something you'd love to be interested in, then definitely sit tight, because it's coming up right after we do our famous 3 steps here at The Point. So step number 1, and you might be new to this, so just follow along. You'll get used to it. Step number 1, as always, find a nice, refreshing beverage of choice. Anything you want, no judgment here. Step 2, find the comfiest corner on the coziest couch that you can. And step number 3 is simply to sit back, relax, and enjoy another great session from us here at Point Noir. I'll see you on the flip side. Yo, what's going on, Wize? Thanks for joining us today at The Point. How are you feeling today, fam?
I'm feeling good, man. It is a beautiful and hot, but beautiful day in New York City. How are you?
Dude, I'm great, and it's definitely heating up here in Dallas as well. That is actual factuals, my guy. But yeah, y'all gotta watch it, because New York, y'all get all the seasons. Y'all get intense winters where you can't walk down the block. You get that hot heat, that nice fresh garbage on the road. Yeah.
And everything in between.
Yeah, it definitely gets musty in the good old NY, that's for sure.
It sure does. You would know. You was just out here. You got to smell that nice fresh musk of the city.
Yeah, there's a good breeze though, so I got lucky, you know what I'm saying? There's a good breeze. But yeah, keep your odors down this summer, y'all. Like,
for real.
God, it's 2019. Got to be more woke than that.
Take multiple showers. Definitely wash your feet and all that as well too. Soap
and your legs. Wash your legs.
Hang.
But listen, bro. We just got to meet each other a couple of weeks ago, and you sat on a panel at the one and only Afros in Audio podcast festival, which was so dope. We were both able to be on different panels, and you had so much to share, and we kind of connected about travel. And I was like, yo, I got to get this guy on the show ASAP, and I want to hear your story. So I'm glad you could be here. And if you wouldn't mind, please open us up by introducing yourself a little bit and talking about your introduction into travel.
Gotcha. So hi everybody, my name is Wize Grazette. I run a podcast business, but outside of that, I love to travel. My introduction to travel was interesting, and just with the sense of me being like a first-gen American. I had my passport from the time I was like 10 months old, if even that.
Wow.
I went home for my grandfather's funeral, and that was like my first travel trip. I was a little baby. I actually have like set up the picture of just being out there and stuff like that. And from there, it just kind of continued. You know, my parents got me and my sister dual citizenship, so we made travels to Barbados quite often as I was growing up through like my elementary years and stuff. And from there, it's just been like a rocket ship after that. I became an adult.
So you said you are a first-gen American, but you didn't rep your country. Y'all are proud. Where are you from, bro? Tell us.
Repping from the big 246, big up Barbados, like always. True and true.
All right. Barbados out here, bro. Yeah, man. Let the people know. Let the people know.
So it was definitely interesting, you know, getting that concept of like, from a young age of like, hey, we live here, but we have heritage here. Like that was a immediate first gen experience to me that I wasn't even able to process until I became much older, much older.
Yeah, for sure. And your parents, I'm guessing, also traveled along with you on those trips, but did they travel independently as well to see friends and family back in Barbados?
Yeah, no, they definitely did their side of traveling as well too. Both of them actually. But my mom has like a slight. She's gotten over it more as of recent, but she has like a slight fear of like planes, so her not as much. My dad used to be in the Navy, so he was all over the world.
Really, the Navy, U.S. Navy or Barbados?
No, the U.S. Navy. Before, like right after he came up here.
Wow, dude. One thing I definitely want to ask you is kind of what has your integration into the U.S. culture been like? Being aware of Barbados, having the history, having your family members. Can you tell us a little bit of that, in your youth and kind of where it's put you now?
It's crazy because I grew up in Brooklyn. I grew up in Flatbush, one of actually the number two largest like West Indian population in America. So
Wow.
for a long time, I didn't even I knew I lived in the United States, but it was still like a my perception of it was quite different. I didn't really experience what I would say is like a America, another part of America, until I moved to Charlotte, North Carolina for high school.
Okay.
There weren't, this was before Rihanna came out, so people didn't really know what Barbados was. I would say like, oh yeah, like my family's from the Caribbean. And be like, oh, where, Jamaica? And it's just like, not really. There's more other countries out there, but I was just like, that was interesting. It was interesting, but I would say, looking back on it, like it kind of just provided me with another perspective. Same thing after I left there, I went to school in the Northeast. I went up to school in Rhode Island, and that was another completely different situation than living in New York. So, overall, it just gave me that, the flexibility to understand different perspectives in America. But it's definitely been like a trying road of, I mean, plus the systems are different. Like Barbados is heavily British inspired,
Hmm.
whereas America was heavily British inspired, but literally just like said, no, I'm gonna do my own thing over here. So
Right. And with such style too. We really have been
yeah,
doing our own thing. But that's really interesting, especially you talking about growing up in Flatbush and being surrounded. I had no idea it was the second largest West Indian community, but in some ways it probably didn't feel like you had left Barbados at all.
it did not. It really did not. And just to put that into perspective, like going, I mean, even now, like you go outside of Flatbush, I recognize it now that, oh, nah, like this neighborhood is drastically different from mine, but at the time, I mean, shit, going from like Flatbush to Canarsie, which is only like 15 minutes away, 15 minutes felt like a long time in the car. So I feel like I
Hmm.
traveled places, different from like getting on a plane, but like it just felt like one large community. So yeah, culture shock for sure.
Wow. Wow. I definitely want to talk about your experiences in the southern regions because I had very similar ones moving from Pennsylvania to South Carolina. But first, are there any trips that really stood out to you when you were growing up as a child? You mentioned your grandfather's funeral, and some other trips to Barbados, but was there anything where you were like, you know what? I'm into, having to get on the airplane and arriving in a different place. Was there any place you traveled with your family that stood out?
This one trip I'm thinking about wasn't with my family. Um,
Hmm.
when I was going from seventh grade to eighth grade,
Okay.
which was like a huge transition in my life, really and truly. Just looking back at it now as well too. But there was this program called People to People Ambassador, and they would
Hmm.
take kids from like inner city communities and travel with them different places. So that was like a whole program. You had to do it was like a large commitment, but we ended up going to New Zealand and Australia.
Oh,
Now,
shit.
yeah. So I was what, 12, like 12, 13, something like that. And we went literally to the other side of the world. Like it wasn't even summer there. So we left in July. So it wasn't even summer there anymore. It was literally winter. It was opposite. I had never experienced, it blew my mind, to be honest with you. Like it
Wow.
blew my mind. And again, like I had been to Barbados. Been to different cities and states in the United States, but Australia and New Zealand were drastically different from where where I grew up, and from every other place I have been to, and even the two of them together, like Australia and New Zealand, are two different countries that it
Yeah.
shows in their culture, but also in the dynamics of the seasons. It was, yeah, just very interesting situation for those 2 weeks.
That's intense. And like, I'm over here thinking, like, low key, that's kind of messed up to intentionally go after inner city kids and be like, all right, y'all, we're going on a trip. Welcome to winter. Welcome to
For real.
everybody's generally least favorite season.
I mean, it wasn't too crazy because
Okay.
New York, we have like our extremes, but was probably like 45, 55, maybe the lowest. But like Australia probably got back up to like the 70s, so it was like winter, and I'm using air quotes.
Okay. So it was their version of winter because of the hemisphere.
Yeah,
So I'm just making sure because I
yeah,
mean,
like San
you
Fran
know,
type stuff.
yeah, everyone's like, we're going to traumatize you to never travel again. I don't know. I just be watching out. You know what I'm saying? Gotta protect and preserve the culture out here,
Yes,
messing up
sir.
these kids' brains. Um, Was there anything you did on those trips? Like, did you have an activity? Did they introduce you to, I don't know, the food? Was there anything that they had you do to get culturally engaged?
Yeah, no, definitely. So it was a group of maybe 20 of us, and maybe like four. What do you call those things? Four
Chaperones?
Thanks. Yeah, four chaperones, and we were all relatively the same age, except for the chaperones. They took us to different parts of each country. We met Aborigines for the first time. First time I had ever even heard of that word. We stayed on like I maybe you want to call it like a farm where we actually had like ground provisions. Like they literally cooked our food in the ground.
Yeah.
That was one of the most interesting experiences in my life as well too, because just in general, like I'm from the city, so even my family being from Barbados and being from the countryside, like that itself was just completely different. Again, never had heard of Aborigines before, so that was an experience. The other aspect though, when we went to Australia was this was 2000, so Sydney, Australia, the Sydney Olympics had just happened, so that monumental opera house, the shape of it, like I actually went and saw that right, maybe like literally right afterwards. So it was just kind of just crazy, like seeing something on TV, knowing I had to watch it at certain time periods because of the time difference, and then actually going there. That was also an experience as well too. I saw koala. I went to a kangaroo farm, held a koala. Like these are just, again, at the time in 7th and 8th grade, or 7th going to 8th grade, like I had never even fathomed experiencing that, and we had the chance to do that, so it was pretty dope.
Wow, that sounds so cool even today. Because I was going to ask you went to see kangaroos, but I didn't want to be like cornball with it.
Nah,
but
we saw some kangaroos, bruh. We saw some kangaroos.
Fucking kangaroos. Have you ever eaten kangaroo?
Nah, I didn't. I didn't. I don't even know if I would. I'm mad funny when it comes to different types of like meat. I generally stay to like chicken and fish, but I feel I'm supposed to try crocodile. When I went to New Orleans recently, that was one of the things on my bucket list.
Okay. Yeah, I'm into eating all the animals, man. And kangaroo's on my list. It is avoided my delicious hungry gaze for so long. But yo, kangaroo, dead ass, I'm coming for you. Like, just, you know what I'm saying?
Just be wary of that trip, bro. That 19 hours was real. I'm not going
to Australia for the kangaroo, honestly. And I probably never shared this. Australia is not even in my top 50 of countries to go to. If I never went to Australia, I'd be okay. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's actually probably my top 5 of countries I'm not that interested in.
Seriously, wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's just how I feel about it. So there you go. Y'all learned something about Kimono Jack today. But it always looks lit. It looks cool. There's a lot of diversity. It also looks like fucking Jurassic Park sometimes, and I'm not into that.
Because there's a lot of like desert, and that's the one thing I was glad that we didn't really go see. Like a lot of Australia is more like East Coast based. Because the West Coast is like just anything off the coast of the East is more so like desert, just like barren lands essentially, except for like a few, random cities. But it's really it's nothing compared to the East Coast at all.
Yeah, which is very metropolitan, right?
Yeah, so those super large like spiders, all kind of craziness you see out there, super snakes, you don't got to deal with all that.
All right, maybe I'll consider or whatever. But like, yo, that's how I feel about Australia. They know. Anyway, that sounds really cool, man, to be, 12 or 13, having that experience.
Yeah, it was definitely one of the experiences.
And I mean, and you still feel favorable about it today. So I'm curious, how did you even get that opportunity?
It's crazy. I think so at the time, my best friend, they had reached out to him, or he got exposed to the program, and we were both supposed to do it together actually, but it was actually a lot of money. I'm gonna tell you this story. So. Yeah. It was a lot of money. I think somewhere close to like $3,000 or something like that. And we had to we didn't have that period. So we had to do like bake sales at the church. We had to make food on weekends to give away to people. We had like toy sales, garage sales. We had to do, my parents did a whole bunch to get me to go out to this thing. That's how I ended up getting there. But yeah, he didn't get a chance to go. So he left me out there stranded. And I really didn't want to go at first. after I
Yeah.
found that out. But my mom was like, yo, this like, I've never gone back to Australia. So she was really true. It was what she said really was really true. 17 years since then, I have not even gotten close to that side of the world. So it's like, you don't want to miss out on an opportunity like that.
Yeah, that's real, man. And I'm really grateful that you remember the experience so well because, one of the things I think about as to why more people of color don't have the opportunity to travel, sometimes it's just, economics, the
Yes.
affordability of it. It takes some money to be put aside. And, it's not just us either, but
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
these are the communities that I can relate to.
Yeah.
Um, and the fact that it's specifically for inner city children, the economic opportunities are different, the
Mm-hmm.
situations are different. So for you to be able to put in that work, that hustle to bake, to cook, to sell toys, to get 3 racks together to go to have this experience, like, you invested in yourself. Your parents gave you an opportunity and a vision towards that. Like, that's a beautiful thing, bro.
They did, and honestly, even like talking about it now, like they heavily influenced me getting into travel and being exposed to those to different places around the world. Because I mean, honestly, I don't even know when I would have started traveling if my parents didn't, get me that passport when I was younger.
Yeah, and I mean, being with you along the way, and also, having their own ambitions to see friends and family and show them Barbados and go different places. But yeah, let's jump into that too, man, because one of the reasons that I think men of color should travel, especially black men from the States should travel, is to help build their sense of self, their sense of identity. And you kind of coming with your own Barbados culture and your family, but then getting integrated into Brooklyn, New York. What did you experience throughout that journey, and how did travel play a part in you developing your self identity as a man of color?
So I would say this. I was referenced back to Australia being like that trip that made a difference to me. I mean, it's like you think about it
Hmm.
at that age now, like you are going to puberty. Like I was literally about to go to 8th grade. So I had one more year in middle school. Like things I was for myself, I was also transferring to a different school, my which would have been my third school in 3 years. Like
Wow.
things were in transition. I feel like when I came back off that trip, it was like the start of me becoming like a man, because for two
Yeah.
weeks you gotta like take care of you basically have to take care of yourself. Like you'll whip other people who were there, but they're not your mom and your dad. Like they're not really paying no attention to you except to make sure that you get on the bus and don't get left in
Right.
another country basically.
Don't get left.
Don't get left, we also had to, like, for the first time I had to learn about having responsibility of money. Like my parents sent me with a little bit of cash to get stuff if I needed to or whatnot, but just making sure that like I'm here for 2 weeks, I need to be able to stretch this little bit of money out for the entire time that we're actually here. I got to make sure that I'm being mindful that I have people back home who've never been out here, so maybe getting them something, trying to take pictures, also trying to build like friendships. And so like it was just, there was so much that happened on that trip. Like that trip alone by itself made me started the first of me becoming who I am today. Real stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Since then, it's further built more character on myself. Like, okay, well, I go to this city now, especially when I started like getting into podcasts. Like I go to this city now and I'm listening to these people live and their experiences. Like, yo, these experiences, it's not invalidating my experience. It's just another perspective I have to, that I can be aware of. Like, yo, this is what life is like.
Can you share a little bit more about that? Maybe a specific example where you encountered a new experience, a new way of living, something different than what you were doing. You just said, wait a second, this might be challenging, this might be foreign to me, but it doesn't invalidate who I am. I think that's a really powerful phrase that you used.
Okay, so when I graduated college
Hmm.
in 2010, I took an internship in Barbados. This was my first time living overseas. And I have literally probably like 75 to 85% of my family still live in Barbados. But I had only experienced hanging out with them in, bouts. So I would spend like 2 weeks here, 3 weeks there, a month here, but not anything longer than that. But I was like, yo,
Right.
yo, I graduated now. Like I have nothing else to like a quote unquote like accomplish in my life. I am now here. This is who I like to be. So that experience was different for me because, for one, I went during a time period when it was like very celebratory. Our carnival, a crop over, is literally like a 3-month long process. Oh, about 3 months out. It's more
Okay.
like 2.5. But it starts in June. So when I went there, it was that time period. So I would go to work, come home on Fridays. I would go hang out with my cousins. We would go to these this parties called pork limes and stuff like that. And just that experience, it was similar to what I experienced in Brooklyn. But then even afterwards, after crop over was over, I had to now deal with, okay, well, there's nothing celebratory going on right now. I'm
Right.
accustomed to being in a fast-paced city where things are always happening, and that's not the case right now. So how do I keep myself active the way I like to be? Who do I get? Who do I go meet? How do I have these conversations where like my life has been so drastically different than other people? So I had to put myself in many like uncomfortable positions, but it allowed me to grow even further. Like, okay, well, cool. Now you don't know this person. You haven't gone to school with these people. There's no real connection except for that you all share a similar flag. So now, how do you expand on that and find like similarities? And it went really well. I ended up staying for another. I stayed on for basically till the to the beginning of that next year, and moved back to New York. And yeah, that experience was literally. I mean, that was like a 7-month process of just like really finding myself as like the adult of who I am, and that catapulted me into 2011 and like my career back here in New York.
That's so interesting, bro. And shout out to you for being willing to engage and be uncomfortable, like you said, to try to relate and learn more. Was there anything that you got out of that process and experience, like anything specific, a moment, maybe an evening out or relationship that just made it all worth it for you?
I mean, honestly, I'm gonna be honest with you. Everything made it worth it for me, to be honest. But I would say one of the most monumental things that happened to me was my creative director at the job I was working at. She
Hmm.
one day, you graduate from school and you're trying to like do things the way that you were taught. And she was talking to me about this project, and I was like, oh, well, I remember that we have to do it this way and blah, blah, blah. She was like, yo, I'm going to tell you something that will probably save you a whole lot of time in life. She's like, I remember, I can hear this little twang. She's like, you went to high school somewhere else in New York. I know this is not in New York. It's not a New York twang. And I was like, oh yeah, I went to high school in Charlotte. She's like, oh, well then you'll get this, because this is a southern thing. I was like, what happened? She's like,
Hmm.
get her done. It don't matter how you got to get it done. It doesn't matter what avenues you have to get. When you have like a project, don't mind that you didn't learn how to do it this particular book way. Like there are multiple ways to skin a cat, which is another one I'm saying.
Hmm.
Another multiple ways to skin a cat. So just make sure that you focus in on the overall end project and get there how you got to get there. But everyone's path is different. And since this is now 2019. That was 9 years ago. Sorry, and I like to this day literally to this day I'm still like, oh nah, like get it done. However, because we just have to.
The fact that Larry the Cable Guy is a comedian who kind of coined that phrase, get her done.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that that had a life lesson, a learning opportunity for you in
Yeah.
Barbados, like, wow, culture
Culture
travels.
travels.
But that's
Yes.
real.
Yes, it does.
That's so real. Wow. I'm sorry, bro. I'm just taking a second. Like, okay, how did Larry the Cable Guy get here?
Right?
Um,
How do these things intertwine?
But bro, whatever it takes to learn the lesson that benefits your life, man, whatever it takes, whatever that phrase or medium or book or idea is, that it's just an idea. It's beautiful.
It definitely is. I mean, in the space I was working at, just like I was working at like a digital agency, like literally there are multiple ways to skin a cat. Like
Right.
the client comes to you for your expertise. So, while things might not seem like you might be, possibly like not confident about what you want to do, whatever, or how you want it to look, like they're gonna understand because they already see you as someone that's like someone that they can go to for these things. So focus on that. Just make sure you're doing what you're doing. You're honest about what you're presenting to people, and you'll be okay.
Yeah, big facts, big facts. So one question I definitely have for you, because I don't have a ton of friends. Actually, I don't think I know anyone who's first generation from the West
Hmm.
Indies. And I'm curious, on the panel where you got to speak a little bit, I got to hear some of your mind and opinions. We talked a lot about podcasting and culture across the diaspora. So the whole panel, for those of you who weren't there, had everybody from different parts of the West Indies. Wize included, and they shared a bunch of stuff. But one thing that didn't get talked about that I wanted to hear about was how us as Black
Mm-hmm.
Americans or people of color in the States could be better allies to
Mm,
people from the West Indies. Because you being first generation, you still have direct ties to your stories, your island, your flag. You've been there a bunch of times, but a lot of people don't make it here.
true. They don't.
So that means something, that stands out. So, what sort of rifts do you feel between the cultures, maybe not New York, but maybe as you travel throughout the South, that you feel like, what, Black Americans could hear this to understand that, we're all in this together. And this is how we could help out or better understand our West Indian brothers.
It's crazy because a lot of the riffs really come down to one word, and it's on all sides. Whether that we're talking about the entire
Mm-hmm.
diaspora, there's a point of ignorance, and not ignorance from like the negative perspective people always try to put on that, around that phrase, but just literally just not knowing and hearing stories from someone else who had their one individual experience, and it's just like, oh nah, I don't fuck with them because blah blah blah, blah. And it's just like, but that's you though, that's your
Right.
that's your one situation. If you choose to judge an entire, like, so I mean, and that goes both ways. There's what 40 some odd million Black Americans in the United States. There's about 42 million Black West Indians. There's a lot of like pieces in between people just are not familiar with. And even when I think about podcasting, really and truly, like that's what I want to provide, like a way to break down those walls. Like, yo, you might not understand me, I might not understand you, but like here's a way that I can share my story so you can get like the cliff notes. Here goes the cliff notes on who I am. And if you don't like me,
Right.
me, here's another person from my island, or here's another person from my city or my borough, or my parish or whatnot, that shares a story or whatnot that you might like. Because it's just like, yo, you mean to tell me that you don't talk to no West Indians because of this, and you don't talk to no Americans because of this, or you don't talk to no Africans or no Brazilians because of it. Like it doesn't make any sense. It's like it's a limited perspective, but I can say that because I've had the privilege to be in other spaces and be like, okay, well, nah, they're not like that, because I know 40 people that wouldn't do that, and even that itself is still like stereotypical. But I'm not a person that's just gonna be like, okay, well, because I know one person that's like this, I'm not gonna talk to nobody else that even remotely reminds them. It's just very like triggering. So that's my spiel on it. I remember growing up, people saying things on both sides and both sides not knowing, my direct access or my direct like lineage to either, and just being like, okay, well, I hear your opinion. These things are not true though, and just being like that intermediary. And that's the what I call like the gift and the curse of being the person that is like I'm neither 100% American, because I really, really and truly don't always relate to all American things. And I'm not 100% Barbadian either, because I don't relate to 100% of all Barbadian things either. So it's just like I'm caught in the middle of being like that. Okay, well, let me explain this to you. Oh, and I'm back home. Let me explain this to you too. And this is why this happens. And it's just like, it gets frustrating sometimes and like exhausting. But that is just what it is at this point. You pay for your privilege.
Yeah. Yeah, and I appreciate the transparency and like the simplicity that you spoke about that, because it can be complicated. And but just your demeanor, I had a feeling that you were the type of guy who thought about this, who probably, like you said, you're probably hanging out with, your Black friends in New York, and they're talking shit about people from the West Indies, and you're hanging out with your West Indies people, and they're talking shit about Black folk, and you're literally in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
All the but time. It doesn't seem to have tainted you or kind of slanted your view for the negative. It seems like it's kind of pushed you to be more open and more outgoing and wanting to share more.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, and these things that you're saying are all true. At the end of the day, how I realized it is this: these are both my experiences. I experience things as a West Indian. I experience things as a Black American. That doesn't mean that I have to choose sides. In any situation, I've been in situations like that where I've felt like internally where like, oh man, like I have to choose sides. Like, no, I don't. Actually, I'm actually quite good. And I found that out, talking about travel, I found that out in a city like Toronto, where there are tons of first gens in that city. Toronto really and truly is like my second home, where like I go out there. It's only an hour away from New York, actually, on the plane. But I go out there and it's just like when someone asks you where you're from, like people aren't looking for you to say like your neighborhood in Toronto, nothing like that. Like they're looking for you to say, oh yeah, I'm from Jamaica, I'm from Iraq, I'm from India, I'm from, South Korea. Like everyone, not, I won't say everyone, but a good amount of people are from someplace else, and it just feels more comfortable. Like, okay, well, this experience I felt like almost like a loner with parts of my life is now something that so many people here like share together, and it's interesting in a good way.
I've heard that Toronto is intensely international and diverse. I've never been to Toronto. I've been to Montreal, I've been to Quebec when I was much younger, but maybe I need to go kick it out in Toronto.
Yeah, man. Come out to the 6. It's pretty cool. Honestly, like Toronto is one of those, especially in the summertime, Toronto is one of those places where you can really just like chill, meet people. People are like, it's like almost like the South in a sense, where it's like there's a lot of like etiquette in terms of conversations and being like genuine and stuff like that. It's pretty, that part I liked as well too.
Right. And speaking of the South, what was that culture shock like for you going to high school in North Carolina?
Whew. Well, Charlotte was that was like a situation of just like bad timing. I'm gonna say that. I really and truly, it's just bad timing. Maybe if it happened when I was like this age, it would have been a little different. But imagine I'm moving. So it is now 2002, excuse me. 9/11 had just happened in New York. Which in itself is a whole nother situation. But from there, like my parents were like, okay, well, we can look at other spaces to live. Like my dad's job was moving. So we were like, all right, well, let's figure this out. And we traveled down to North Carolina, maybe like that winter before, like the Christmas before, and experienced it. And I was like, oh wow, it's kind of warm out here. It's December. I'm like, the grass is all cut and stuff. This looks real nice. And this is like my first experience of like, yeah, when you go on vacation, like don't just get gassed by what you see, because it's deeper than just the vacation and what you see. It's deeper than that. And I realized I experienced that as soon as I got down there. I had never, like the stars and bars, the Confederate flag, for people who are not familiar with that nickname.
Yeah.
Like I had never seen that before. I don't even know if I even seen it in the little shitty textbooks they gave us here for high school. I mean, for middle school. Like I had never seen that before. And I get down there and people are like, I saw people like hanging that shit off the back of they truck. They racist truck, as I like to call it, the F-150. I'm just like, I can't deal. Like that was almost like my first week. So that tripped me out. The other aspect was that I couldn't walk nowhere. Like, yo, I literally, so from my house at the time when I was in middle school, I had about like 5 corner stores within like a 2-block radius in every direction. Like we literally, I had to get in the car and drive. I had no license by this point either. So I had to get in the car and drive places. So that blew my mind. So again, now these are things that's happening and we haven't even, I'm now about to transition into high school. We haven't even gotten into high school. So those things alone blew mine that by the time I got into high school, I was ready to go. Real shit. And that was 2000. Yeah. That was August 2002. By my 10th grade year, like midway through the year, I was failing. Like when I say failing, my GPA was less than a 2.0. Like I did not give a fuck about school no more. Like I really saw myself like literally falling off like the track. The track of like, yo, come here. Like my parents came here for a better life. So come here, do what you got to do, get your degrees and all that, make yourself into somebody. Like I was falling off that track. And all I kept saying in my head was like, yo, it's either you fall off the track and you're stuck here in the city that you really at this point, like you do not like. You either fall the track and be stuck here, or you figure the shit out and you get out. And those next like 2.5 years, I bust my ass. By my senior year, I think I had like a 4.0 GPA for almost every single quarter. Graduated, shit, and the day, literally maybe like 2 days after I graduated, packed up all my shit and drove back to New York. I was like, I'm good. I completed what I said I was going to complete here, and I'm out.
Wow. What made it difficult that got you to the point of being under 2.0 GPA?
So again, you go to high school, you don't have you go to high school from someplace else, you don't have no friends. So that was like the first issue. Secondly, there were cultural things that I didn't even know about that I just literally like ran into by accident. Quick story. One day we're doing a presentation on people that we're inspired by. Being from
Mm-hmm.
Brooklyn, I was like, oh, now I'm inspired by Biggie. So I went to school there. I mean, I went to school with like my big puffy jacket and I, threw all my stuff on so I could, do my presentation. At the end of my
Right.
presentation, my teacher, who was also from New York, has said something about her and her husband making like $90,000 a year. And I was like, damn, like mad loud. Everyone was like, oh, he cursing. I was like, cursing? Like, nigga, I said, damn, like, what's wrong with y'all? What, like, but I didn't even know that damn, dang is two different things in the South. That damn was damn. Like, it didn't really matter what I said in New York. No one wasn't really pressed off of that stuff. So just situations like that. Also, Charlotte at the time only had like 16 high schools. And was also very super zone based as well too. So if the person you went to high school with, you probably went to school with them in middle school, or you probably went to school with them in elementary school. So these are long term relationships, and I'm now just like, hey, here I am. Oh, this city is whack as fuck. I don't want to be here no more. And it's basically giving off that type of energy to everyone I meet. It was a mess, a whole mess.
And I imagine there wasn't a large West Indian community to plug into.
No, actually. By the grace of God, my cousins lived an hour away in Columbia, South Carolina, for those not familiar.
Yeah.
We literally, Friday after like 3:00. Well, originally it was Friday after 3:00, but then my mom started to work 2 jobs because my whole situation, like my family was falling apart. So ended up not like, just ended up going to South Carolina on the weekends for literally from Friday after school, basically until Sunday night, pulling up, an hour ride back from Columbia, and just being like, all right, back to school again. Like, it was difficult, difficult. So
wow, so you're putting a lot of miles in on 85.
Oh yeah. At that point, I got my license as well too. So me and my mom just were able to just like travel and stuff like that, and my sister, we were able to travel as well. So we just ride out to North Carolina. I mean to South Carolina. Sometimes we ride back up to New York. We went out to Miami a couple times, like Atlanta a couple times. It was cool. Like that part of it was cool. Like being able to go to different cities I had never been to before. I mean, shit, like Florida, even though like that was the longest trip I'd ever done in my entire life, being able to be like, oh shit, we in Florida, like we drove to Florida, like that was dope. So those are the moments, like memories that like I really appreciate. The fact that me and my mom and my sister were able to just kind of just like do our own vibe, in another area of the country. But yeah. Overall, outside of like the high school, trippy bullshit that I probably would end up dealing with in New York anyway, like Charlotte was okay.
That's a really healthy perspective. Very,
I've grown. It's been a lot of growth.
Yeah, man. I mean, because, New York high schools are notorious for being rough places.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
But one, I didn't know you were that close to Columbia. So we probably weren't there at the same time, but I went to University of South Carolina down there. So that's a quick drive. But also the difficulty. I definitely am. I mean, those social years in high school. Listen, some people never outgrow their high school mentality. Yeah. High school is still the best years of their lives, and that could be valid or whatever. But it means a lot. That's where you form some of these. Your high school sweetheart could be your future wife or husband, prom, all these significant events that you struggled through. Shout out to you for getting out of there in really good shape. But I mean, you could have been another, washout statistic.
Yes. No. Absolutely. And that's what I really did not want to be. Like after hearing all those like people telling me from elementary school and middle school, like I wasn't gonna be nothing because I wasn't their prototypical student. Like I didn't want to prove them right. So I proved them wrong.
That's inspiring alone, man, because as I've gone through this journey of just trying to become more aware and understand about the realities of being a person of color in this country, for a lot of young girls and boys of color in public school, it's a violent environment.
Yes.
Not physical violence, but that sort of, hey, you ain't going to be shit, or you're not, we're not going to give you enough attention because the teachers got to keep their good performing students performing so they don't get fired. Like there's a lot in it. And there's one thing you mentioned, and I don't know if you were aware of it, but you mentioned that you were putting out a certain type of energy while you were in that space.
Yes.
And I really appreciate that, because you could have told these stories and you have definitely expressed your truth, your reality as it occurred to you, but you haven't played a victim. And by saying that, I was expressing this energy that I didn't want to be in this fucking school anyway. You're taking accountability, and it's subtle, but it's really important. Like, it speaks to the person you've grown to become, because it's easy to play victim. There's a lot of shit against us everywhere, but you said, wait a second, I'm going to make this change. And you pulled that shit around, bro.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, because like, again, like it's taking a long time for me to get to that point, because Charlotte was a very just traumatic situation for me at that, like from that point, like it was very traumatic. It literally highlighted and guided me to do things in my adulthood that I probably would not have done without those experiences. But then I would be missing out on large chunks of pieces of who I am today. And for me to like, turn on my nose at those experiences when they got me where I am right now would just be, I don't know, hypocritical, rude, dismissing. Like I don't want to feel that way about those things. There's duality in things,
Yeah, it would be denial of what makes you authentic.
Exactly. I went to high school in Charlotte, North Carolina. My high school was like the state champs for like 7 straight years. Like those experiences, highlighted. Like I'd never experienced. Like football wasn't a big thing up here, and then I ended up going to like the best football school in all North Carolina. Like that shit was lit. Going to high school football games and seeing that culture, like up close, like that was lit. The whole snap era, cell phone ringtone raps. Like I was 4 hours away from that in Charlotte. Like I experienced the entire thing firsthand. Big T, 4X tees, tall tees, Gerbeau jeans, like everything.
Yeah, man.
So it was
wow. Cool. We've talked a lot about kind of your almost like a coming of age era, these important defining moments as you were growing up that, again, you said have made you who you are today. But it just goes to show that you don't have to leave the country to have a travel experience, to have an adventure, or to see life in a different way. There's so many opportunities, but many people do not leave their city. Yeah. And we always promote on the show, start locally.
Definitely. I mean, I'll give some people like a little tip. New York is a very fast-paced city. So what I tried to do, and I've been doing this for about 2 years now, is leave the city at least once every 30 days. So not all those trips a lot of those trips actually are not like long trips, anywhere on no plane. I'll take the bus, $6 to Philly, take a $20 bus ride to DC, which is 4 hours away, or take it in the opposite direction and go to Boston. Just traveling just to be in a different city and see things that's happening out there and experience like that culture. Like, yeah, I mean, honestly, my family is from an island that you can circle in an hour and a half. I hear people's stories every day about, oh, damn, like, yo, the States is a big place. The States is a big place. The States is a big place. Yes, it is. There are parts of the States I ain't never been in before, and I don't even know if I'll ever get a chance to go to those places. But I know that when I go out there, it's going to be drastically different. It might be drastically racist too, but it's definitely going to be drastically different, And if I want to get that experience, like, that's the type of, like, that's the part I would say that kind of, like, makes me a little nervous about traveling sometimes now, especially as of recent. But especially with like gun violence and stuff. But outside of that, like I really do like to just pull up to a new city, see what's happening. Like, yo, where is the culture at over here? I want to be able to see that firsthand. Like the best part of traveling for me is the experiences that I get when I get there, not just be like, oh yeah, I went out there now.
Having an experience that resonates with you that you can take on forward. Like that's what I'm thinking of.
Definitely.
But that's what's up, man. I think that's really good advice. Even if you're in a more spread out space, like I'm in Dallas, but you can catch a dollar bus to Austin. You can go out to Houston 4 hours. You don't have to sit in any of the traffic. You got Wi-Fi. It's lit. I think I'm probably going to take that to heart, take that to task. That's really good advice, dude.
Thank you. That's something that's kept me like kind of sane because New York is real fast, and sometimes just need to kind of like cool down, get a little just different scenery and people in your space, and yeah, that's definitely gone a long way for me.
Yeah, that's a great idea. So, where else have you traveled to throughout the world?
Okay. So I've been to every state on the East Coast.
Okay.
I've been to New Orleans for the first time this year. I went to Austin for the first time this year. I went to Fresno for the first time this year. I went to San Francisco last year. Um, let's see. I went to Panama last year for the first time, which
Okay.
was a very interesting experience because a lot of Barbadians, there's a large Barbadian population there because when the canal was being built, the U.S. used that as like a base ground. Barbados used that. They used that as like a space to recruit people from all over the West Indies, including
Right.
Barbadians. So going to Panama, going to canal, seeing like my family's name in registries, like that was crazy.
Your actual
Um,
relatives?
yes, my actual relatives.
Wow.
So that was crazy. Where else have I gone? I went to Trinidad this year for the first time. That was beautiful. Trinidad was much different than Barbados. Just in general, they have mad hills. Like Barbados is relatively flat. But
You said they got mad
Trinidad,
hills.
they have mad hills. And Trinidad is actually fair. It's a pretty big country or island.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Like honestly, like I'm really looking for. I mean, travel wise, like oh shit, I went to London. Wow, yeah, I went to London this year, earlier
Okay.
this year as well too. London was really cool. London was very similar. It was interesting because London was like it's like the middle ground for me between Barbados and New York because the culture is very similar to Barbados, but the structures and stuff is very similar to New York. That was trippy.
And
That was
it's
trippy
big.
as hell.
London's big, bro.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So those were some of the other cities and countries I've been to. Canada, I don't know if I mentioned that as well. Mexico, but definitely looking. I'm trying to go more west. No, west east. I'm trying to go more east. This year. Next year. I did my ancestry and I found out that my family is the most. I guess the most percentage, the highest percentage of DNA where my family is located was Benin. It's in between
Okay.
like Nigeria and Ghana. I want to go there. People have been telling me that Ghana is like the first country to go to if you go to Africa. So at some point in time next year, I'll probably just take a trip out to London and then travel down after that, to Ghana and maybe, I don't know, backpack or some shit. Like there are certain experiences I have like because of the podcast network, I've been blessed to be able to meet people in other cities, to just like, have them show me around and stuff like that. So definitely one of those places I end up going as well too.
That's super interesting that you did your family's ancestry, one of those DNA tests, because I'm trying to think. Like, do we have time to go into all of this? Talk to me about that,
I
bro.
got to,
What
yeah.
what got you interested in that? Because for especially millennials, Black millennials, going for these African ancestry, the DNA test it's a wave right now,
Yeah.
and a lot of people are finding a lot of satisfaction and fulfillment from it. I had Quentin Butler, who's on session 10 of the show, went through and had the highs and the lows. He did it on his mom's side the first time. He went through his
Mm,
maternal side, and they tell. No, he went through his dad's side, the paternal side,
Parmesan, yeah.
and they generally tell you not to do that. And so when he did that, he found out all of his heritage. They told him was Portuguese, and my guy was
Mm,
hurt. That he
yeah.
immediately put it in order for his maternal side, and just found out that he's from. Oh shoot, I don't remember the country anymore.
Yeah.
But he was very happy by it. So I haven't thought that a lot of people from the West Indies would be interested in that. So what drew your attention?
So for me at the time, so I'm 30 now. I was going into 30 and I just wanted to be more clear because
Mm-hmm.
for one, I mean, since I've been young, I mean, we talked a lot about this already. Since I've been young, I've always been able to say, yeah, my home is Barbados. I live in the United States. My home is Barbados. It's where my heritage is. It's where my family is from. This is where my family is currently right now. This is me.
Yeah.
But prior to 300, 400 years ago, that's not where my family was from, and I wanted to find out. Barbados is kind of like unique as well too. Like most of the other countries in the West Indies, that all of us kind of came from. I mean, even here in the United States and in Brazil and all that, a lot of us came from West Africa. But there's not much variety. I hope I'm not offending by saying that, but there isn't as much variety of people in Barbados.
Yeah.
Many of us are black, like blackity black, African black. There's some diversity, but less than 5%. So I was like, well, I want to know. Like, I would like to know. So I did it through Ancestry.com. I was kind of like iffy about it for a long time, actually. And I called someone who works there. And we ended up talking about it, and she wore me down a little bit. So I ended up, for real. That's literally how I went. So I was like, damn, like, yo, I don't really want to know. I was like, I don't know if I want to do this with y'all because I don't trust y'all with the DNA. I just learned about Henrietta Lacks, which threw me to another situation. I was like, damn, like, they ain't gonna take my DNA and do this and that and third. I didn't. Eventually, I got worn down because the mystery was killing me.
Yeah.
And I found out, and for one, to know that I'm like 94% African, that felt validating for me. A lot. That felt really validating for me, actually. I think that's probably the first thing I screamed out when I got the results. The other part, though, was just like, okay, well, now, because it just threw me into like a whole research thing, because then I'm like, damn, so a lot of the borders, and when I go look at a map of Africa, a lot of these borders, all these borders really and truly were designed by Europeans. So it's like, the region, like, they talk to you a lot about the region of where you're from, and they point it to like they say this is modern day, blah, 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 but it's more so regional. So it just was very interesting. I had some ancestral DNA from Mali, which is not even technically on West Africa, on the west coast of Africa. So that to me indicated, I started to do more research on the other countries that they listed as well. And I'm like, oh shit, well, Mali, like, that's a whole different vibe. A lot of those people were like traders and would be traveling from far. So it's like, my DNA could really be stretched a whole different direction. It was opening, very, very like mind opening, and something that I wouldn't recommend it to everybody because not everyone really wants to know that much detail. But if you do, definitely step into that, because I felt a bit more validated afterwards.
I appreciate that perspective, man. And you mentioned one of the classic questions that I've gotten when I travel is, where are you from? And, I spent a lot of time in Paris, or quite a bit of time in Paris. I go back often, but when you meet people, sometimes they ask you, it's just their habit, because they're used to seeing dark-skinned people.
Mm-hmm.
And where are you from? Okay, it's going to be the West Indies, it's going to be Africa. But when you say you're Black American, they say, yeah, we get that. But where are you from?
Mm-hmm.
As though we have like a very clear tie to our lineage in Africa. Yeah. However, for my people from the West Indies, when y'all say Barbados or Trinidad or Jamaica, that's it. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It kind of sticks in a different way, but y'all still had the same journey to get over here that we did.
Yeah.
So there's almost like this disassociation, and it's interesting around the identity that, Jamaica sticks, Barbados sticks, but if you say I'm Black and from the States, it's like, well, we need more information than that.
And that is one of I would say that's probably the most, how would I say this? That's probably the most common thing I've heard other people say about Black Americans, that they consistently ask that very question. Like, oh, well, yeah, I know you're Black American, but what, like, almost like, what else,
Right.
It's for some people, like, I cannot speak for everybody. For some people, even me sometimes, I can speak on my experience. When someone asks me, where am I from? Right. I was born in Brooklyn, right? When someone asks me where I'm from, my instinct, based on where I am, my most instinctual answer is Brooklyn, right? When I know that someone is literally not asking where are you, because people hear it in my accent. There are a lot of people, sometimes people just like, they're not asking me where am I from in the United States. Like, they can tell that already, or they're like, maybe it's not even what they're asking for. It's like, oh, nah, but where are you from? Or sometimes they'll rephrase and say, oh, nah, but where's your family from? And that's when I will like explain it. I don't think people realize how troubling like that question could be. It's like with entrepreneurs when they say, oh, well, what do you do?
What do you do?
Yeah, like that's like a troubling question, because it's like, what if I'm not doing anything? What if I'm just like here to experience? Like, I don't need to always be like, I don't want you to make me feel. I don't want to. I mean, no one can make you. They can't make you feel a certain way. Sometimes people don't intend to make you feel a certain way about something, but just do it anyway based on like just the ignorance of like, oh yeah. I mean, I can imagine someone asking you literally all the time, like, oh yeah, you say, oh no, I'm from Pennsylvania. Oh, okay, but nah, where are you from? Pennsylvania? Like, did you not hear me the first time? I don't understand, So it's more growth. Like I think about this time that we're in right now. Like it's 2019. People are now some people literally have got their first computer today, where they're learning more about the rest of the world, the same way that some of us, as we were growing up on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, were learning about the rest of the world all at one, like, fell rush, So it's like people make these statements, and like I'm hoping that over time they understand that, like, yeah, it's like, it's similar to saying like, oh yeah, no, where are you from? Oh, I'm from, the West Indies. Oh, Jamaica? No, like, don't make that assumption. Just chill out. I told you I'm gonna tell you where I'm from. You're gonna you're gonna experience, you're gonna appreciate that I'm from there. And if you care about my experience in that space, you will ask me. And if don't double up on the question. Like, I answered you the first time. Trust me, I got you. I answered you the first time. If I have more to tell you, I will. And if I don't, you can just live with that.
Y'all, shout out to East Coast energy, because I understand exactly. And being out in, South Carolina, France, and now, which is really the southern Midwest, Texas, South, y'all are the southernmost part of the Midwest. Y'all are borrowed Mexico.
Borrowed Mexico for
sometimes sometimes the way we view things, the way that I encounter, how to have discussions when people try to, come at you sideways, like, I carry that energy, and I appreciate hearing it from you, because I'm like, this is amazing. That's why I love afros and audios, because everybody had that East Coast energy. I was like, cool. I'm not confused about what you're trying to tell me. It's straight, it's direct. I'm either going to take it or I'm not. And that's it.
Yeah, the cultural nuances. Those are the things that make life so much easier or so much more difficult.
Definitely. And I love that you could relate to what I was talking about with the where are you from question. And there's so much pride in the West Indies, the Caribbean. Like, there's so much pride. But I think there's an opportunity for growth for all of us to maybe keep filling out that story, if that's something that resonates with you, because we didn't start there. Yes. That's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And that's really what, like, people talk about, like, re-education. Like, that's the things that we gotta, like, that some people have to focus on. Or we have to also be mindful that some people literally think that Black people started in America, or started 300 years ago or 400 years ago. Like, that's some people's mindset, because they don't know. And we have some of our students, a good amount of our kids in an education program that does not care to tell them the truth about where we are from. So that falls on the onus of, like, us as private business owners, as for me as a parent, and other people as parents. Like, yo, this is actually, here's the Carfax right here. Like, I got you on the Carfax.
Right. That's what's up, man. Dude, this has been a great discussion, and there's so much more we could talk about. I have one more question for you before we learn about all the dope shit you're up to. So if you're down, yeah, just one more for you, dude. And because I'm curious, this is why I do the whole hosting thing. You mentioned that your parents moved to the States to have an opportunity at a better life. And given all the places in the world you've traveled, all this amazing perspective and growth that you've experienced, what does a better life look like for you and your generation going forward? Does that involve you going back to Barbados, going back to the West Indies? Does that involve you launching your family out internationally again, the way your parents did? Does that involve, solidifying your place in the United States? What does that look like for Wize?
That's a great question. So my mom came here when she was like 25. My dad came when he was 17. So he had less of a choice about it. But he came when he was 17. He made his own thing and he came out. My mom being here, like, we're now the same, literally the same age. Like, the age that I'm at right now is the age that she was when she had me. So we're now, like, able to have, like, different conversation because I'm understanding a little bit differently, right?
Yeah.
From Would I launch my family international again? My answer would be I would. I would. I feel like right now, for where the United States is at, we about to get deep. Okay.
Let's go.
So where the United States is at right now is very troubling, right? From a looking back 40 years ago or so, when my parents were looking at like the United States as an option, the image out there was like, this is like, come here for this dream. You got your house, your 2 kids, your little garage, white picket fence. Like, that was the image that was being like sent out. Yes, the U.S. was in all kinds of different wars and stuff, but the image itself of what they were standing for has been different, or was different, or looked different from top level.
Yeah.
Right now, the image is kind of busted. While there are still plenty of opportunities here to be made for yourself, the advent of the internet and the based on how many people who have now bought into the idea of the internet has like balanced out the playing field to an extent. Mm-hmm. There are still plenty of opportunities here, again, United States, but from like a safety standpoint, I would not, if I had to start a family, right? Would not be, and I wanted to go someplace else, this would not be like my first choice. It would not. Between the gun laws, between the what seems like a public view of, yes, I would like to change these laws, but I don't know if I could really muster up the effort or the courage to do so. That is concerning. Just as someone who understands government and understands what people are looking for, that is concerning. I don't want, like, the fact that my daughter now, who is 7, has to tell me that she does, like active shooter drills when she was in kindergarten. Like, that's not something that I want to hear, That's one thing. The other aspect, though, is that when I see conversations about immigration, because I'm a Black immigrant, essentially, people don't like view it that way. It's a situation where it's like, oh, no, well, this only happens to Hispanic people, Latinx, or whatever however they would like to be identified. This is what happened. This is something that only happens to them. My family, take away maybe 35 people, and none of us are here. The rest of my family is in Barbados, so that's always going to be like a sore topic for me. And when I see conversations being discussed, not even just, people talk about, oh yeah, the president is president, that, but go on social media, go on Twitter, and you see the conversations people have about immigration and who should be here, who shouldn't be here. It gets messy, but also at the same, I say all that to say, I also don't know, outside of Barbados, I also don't know where else I would go. I like Toronto, but Toronto has their own issues, maybe significantly less guns, but they have their own issues as well too. So it's just but I would definitely be open to the idea for sure.
You brought up a lot of really good points, and you're totally right about Black immigrants, especially from the islands, the West Indies, being overlooked when it comes to the discussion about these ICE raids and who's experiencing trauma and additional stress on a daily basis because of their status and state in the country, whether they're legal or not. Exactly. At some point we have a lot of reason to be suspicious of those that enforce these laws.
Yes, and I've seen ICE cars in my neighborhood. Like, it's one thing to see it on TV, to hear about it in the news, read about it in the paper, but I've literally seen ICE vehicles, ICE police in my neighborhood, which is significantly far from the city. You only come into my hood because if you're trying to terrorize people in my community. That is not comfortable at all.
Right. And it's like, for what?
Literally, it's like
what are we accomplishing here?
Yo, I'm an American citizen, and I fear that literally someone could just be like, oh, you know what? Nah, like, actually, we're gonna take away your citizenship and we're gonna ship you someplace else. Like, and that's me. So imagine someone that's not even that. So imagine someone that was not born here, got a green card, but doesn't have like a passport. If you walking around without your papers, like that is, yo, your whole family is here. People, you just go up, you just end up going missing one day. You can't call nobody. Like, nah, that's crazy. Like, I can't even.
That's right, man. I love you drawing attention to that and bringing up that very valid point. And I appreciate your answer to the question, because I know it was a broad question, but ultimately a better life, the way the numbers line up economically, socially, culturally, the U.S. might not be the place anymore.
Nah, and I on one hand, I feel like that's by design, that a person like Trump, that's like something like what he's trying to do. Like he don't want people to see this space as like the place to be. And that just, to me, that's counteractive, you know, because America being like the place to be also allowed America to have like these certain like standards, or implement like these standards on the world. And without that, oh my God, I want to go here, I need to be here. Without that, like the whole prestige just goes down. You know, people start to look at like glaring things about your country that we might have been overlooked. Like Flint was overlooked here in the country, but something like Flint might not have ever been mentioned on the world stage had not the United States been in like the shitty predicament that it's in right now, you know? So it's like, there, on one hand, for our people, for my people, it works out well, where it's like, okay, well, I don't want nobody to come here if they feel like they're going to be in a situation of being like oppressed, or in a situation where like the police are gonna come and harass them every 2 seconds, or like or you can't wear your hair certain. Like I don't want nobody to deal with that. Like that's not what you come here for. You're not coming here to be stressed out even more. You're not coming here to have different stresses from where you came from previously. You coming to make a better life. So let's focus on doing that.
Yeah. And to kind of close off that question, just from your perspective, do you experience or sense more stress being in the United States or being abroad as a man of color?
Definitely here. Outside of New York City and a few spots like parts of Atlanta, maybe parts of like Miami, maybe parts of just me counting off cities that I've been at constantly, and like feeling like, oh well, I could be there, but like one wrong alley, or wrong corner, or coming outside the hotel room without my wallet, like it could be a whole different situation. And it's like I don't feel comfortable telling someone, oh nah, come here, and then they forget their wallet stepping outside, and it's a whole situation. Like I wouldn't feel comfortable with that.
Yeah. So generally, when you have been international, you don't have any of these worries, do you?
No, not really. Not really.
Bet. And that is one of the other lessons of the day. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Fucking killing it today. Nailing it, Wize. I think that's such a reality. I mean, bro, I don't walk around my block without my ID. And that's just to go on a walk, to clear my head, to listen to, a podcast or an audiobook. I don't fuck around. I keep identification on me. And I'm like, this is crazy.
That's craziness. But this is the country that we live in. And I don't feel like that's right.
Facts, man. But with people like you doing what you're doing, and I can't wait for you to share, I think you're providing this bridge. You're gathering community. You're doing the growth yourself. You're putting in the work, my guy, to give others an opportunity to do the same. So as we round out, bro, what do you have popping off? Talk to us about everything you got going on.
All right. So we have been quietly working on a membership program for people to join the Indie Creative Network. Like when I thought about how I wanted to provide back to the community, it took me a really long time to figure out exactly what that would look like. We've had people. This company's been around for it'll be 4 years. Actually, it'll be 4 years in like 8 days, and people have been a part of our organization, and they've been around for the ride. There have been things that we would have liked to have done for people previously, but just weren't sure if we were able to handle that. But now we are. So our membership program, people can join. It gives you a free RSS feed and tons of resources, one-on-one resources for your podcast. You get your podcast highlighted on our website as well too.
Oh, wait a second. Let's back them all the way up. What's the name of your organization? What do y'all do? Why did it start? Because we haven't talked about any of that yet.
Damn, we haven't even got there. Wow. Okay. So I run an association called the Indie Creative Network. The Indie Creative Network has been around for 4 years now, where we provide podcasters with tools and resources, podcasters and storytellers as well, to get tools and resources to grow their platform. Overall, we're dedicated just to providing digital literacy for our community, because we're literally less than 6 months away from 2020. I've had the privilege of having a computer for 20 of those years, but there are a lot of people who have not had access to a computer at all. People only have now been getting smartphones and stuff like that, and that provides like a limitation. But I don't look at things as limitations. I try to find solutions for things like that. So making sure we're able to put people in positions to learn and then be able to make money off of what are high skilled trades, like things like social media, managing social media, handling graphic design for platforms or businesses, whether they're small, local, large corporations, whatever they are, being able to have that experience and being able to have that experience to do those things now, so that when you graduate from high school or you graduate from college or you transition into a new field from the one that you're currently in right now, that you're able to grasp on those opportunities because you've had experience in it. So yes, people have like podcasts. A lot of podcasters are the graphic designer for their podcaster. They're the social media manager for their podcaster. They're the person that edits their podcast. They're the person that engineers the podcast. Like those are all job opportunities where if you put more effort behind it, and got more experience behind that, you could pull in $20 an hour doing that for someone. You can have multiple of those jobs and provide alternative income for yourself. So trying to tackle things like youth unemployment and just unemployment in general within our community is why we even created the membership program that we have now, and how we've been trying to funnel these opportunities that we see people looking for within our membership program, our community as ICN, and podcasters who we see that come to our studio here in the city.
That's what's up. So how many podcasts do you currently work with?
35.
35, like
35.
35, 35, 35?
35. 35 production teams. We're in like 6 different countries right now. We have the United States, Canada, South Africa. We have one show in Mumbai, India as well too, and we're getting ready to launch a couple shows and bring a couple shows in from Barbados and Trinidad as well. So we've been around. We've been making sure that we're able to understand what some of the members of the podcast community and storytellers in the community are looking for, and I keep adding storytellers in there because not everyone is digital, but that doesn't mean that they don't have great stories. So if you provide them with those technical tools to help share their stories in a different medium, it then expands like their reach and their story that they're trying to get out to people.
That's smart. That's inclusivity, y'all.
Yes, sir.
That's really good.
Inclusivity the right way, not no 10%. We're gonna just pull in 10% of y'all and leave the rest of y'all to starve. Like that's not really what this is about. And I just I used to work in the tech industry. After I left Barbados, I worked in the tech industry where 5 to 10% of your business, if even that much, was from our POC community, and it's just like, okay, y'all are mad hype off of 5 or 10% and quote unquote hoping to grow. Like I worked in corporate America at an insurance company that's almost 160 years old. Same nonsense, and it's just like, this is not what I don't want to be that person that grew up in the hood and then take all my resources out the hood. Like that's not what I want to do. Like I want to make sure that I'm being able to provide for the same community that I grew up in, that helped nurture me to be the person that I am today.
Right. That's what's up. Do you have any other projects going on?
Outside of that, I work on the studio. So I do audio engineering editing here at my studio space called Storytime Studios, based in Brooklyn. Also, I'm a teaching artist. I teach students who are interested in learning about podcasting, whether that's from a marketing standpoint or in like audio engineering or product development standpoint. The 8th of July, our second cohort actually of students will be coming from local high schools, 2 local high schools here in the city. That's an experience I'm really excited for, because there are podcasters who are always looking for young talent, who just don't understand how to reach out to them. And then we have young talent who would love to work with podcasters, other people in the community who are doing things that they can grow themselves. They can grow their portfolio, they can grow their network, and they're having the issue. So I've tried to become as much as an intersecting point as possible, that middleman, to say, hey, look, you looking for this? Cool. Like, I got this person that can help you out right now, and they're in need of learning about this. So let's work on some sort of plan, whereas you're both able to gain from this opportunity. And the city pays them, so they're gonna be working out pretty well for the next 8 weeks.
That's what's up. Where could we find more information about all of this?
Instagram at ICNDJ. Twitter, ICN_DJ. Our website is ICN.DJ. See, try to stay consistent.
Okay, branding.
Yes, sir. On Instagram, you can also find me, The Real Wize. I have a lot of my page. You will see things that I'm personally doing. So whether I'm traveling or handling an event, but of course, you'll see stuff about podcasts and how you can get involved in that, and how you can get involved in learning more about podcasting. If you want to email me, that's all the information is up there as well too. But my email is also wizeicn@gmail.com.
Dude, a ton of stuff you have going on, and you're being the bridge. You're the plug. You're giving people opportunities. You're providing a service for those of us creators. Because listen, he said 35 podcasts. I'm just like, shit, I'm trying to deal with one. Like, and it takes so much to be an independent podcaster and put together a quality product consistently.
Yes,
so,
sir.
A lot of value added stuff, man. So thank you so much for spending the time to share your perspective on travel, on community, on culture. This has been another great session, man. I enjoyed getting to talk to you.
I enjoyed this talk too, man. I'm here chilling on the couch. Like, yeah, this is like a beautiful situation. Thank you for inviting me onto the show. Some of these stories I hadn't even thought about in a little while. I'm gonna have a nice little drive home. Like, wow, we talked about Charlotte. We talked about Australia.
That takes me back. Man, I've accomplished so much. I am pretty awesome. Yeah. You got to big up yourself, bro. If you ain't doing it, nobody else will.
Nah, real shit though. That's some more Carfax.
I love it, dude. All right, bro. Well, we're going to hop on off of this. We'll definitely be in touch, man. I hope there's another opportunity we can get in the same space, share some of the knowledges that we've picked up. But for everyone listening, out there, I think they're really going to appreciate your perspective, because it's authentic and there's so much in there, y'all. So make sure you listen to this twice, because it'll do good things for your life. I guarantee it.
Yes. And again, thank you so much for having me on. I look forward to chatting with y'all online.
Absolutely, bro. Make sure y'all reach out, especially if you're in the BK area. Yeah, bro. Hope to see you back here at the Point. And until then, travel safely, bro. And be easy.
Hey, part two.
Hey, talk that shit. I'm with it. All right, bro. I'll see you.
All right. Talk to you later.
Peace. Bro, thanks again, Wize, for coming through the show. Y'all make sure you check him out at The Real Wize with a Z on Instagram. Definitely make sure to give ICN a look. ICN.DJ for their website. You can see all 35 podcasts from across the world that they help and support. If you need services, he just launched that, so definitely take advantage of it. It's so cool, and even for myself as an independent podcaster, the opportunity to have a Black network I can plug into, people of color who understand the mission, who aren't going to edit out important words in my podcast, that's such a relief. So if you're a podcaster, if you're in the digital media space, and especially if you're in Brooklyn and need a space to record, definitely check them out, because he also has Storytime Studios. Again, bro, appreciate your authenticity. Can't wait until the next time we can link up. And I hope all of you at home or in your cars enjoyed this session too. It kind of had the full gamut of what we love about travel. It's the experience, but it's also the lessons, and it's that forward-thinking kind of vision for what the future could potentially hold for you. That's the beauty of it all. Thank you so much for tuning into this session. We'll be back next Tuesday with another amazing guest. Again, if you have any questions about the show, or how to get sponsored for a passport, or even how to sponsor a passport for yourself, like my man CJ Livingston has been doing, hit me up at kimonojack@pointnoirshow.com. I'll spell it out. Here we go. KIMONO @pointnoirshow.com. Also, you can slide in those DMs, no big deal, on IG at Point Noir Show as well. That being said, hope you all have an amazing rest of your week. Stay safe, do what makes you happy, and enjoy yourselves. This has been Jerry the Third, aka Kimono Jack, signing off.